Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very different kind of show here on the Batman Statue Collector channel. We're not talking about Batman or superheroes tonight. We're going to be talking about wrestling, and I'm very excited because this is the first time we've ever done anything like this here on the channel, and we're hoping it takes off. We're hoping to be able to talk about some of the, our favorite things in sports entertainment. And I've even started a second channel that hopefully we'll be able to put this kind of content on. And so I've pinned the comment up above. If you guys would do me a favor, if you're watching this, and we want to grow the channel. So it's called Wrestling Rogues. And so if you would hit that, subscribe if you would like to do so. If you think other people would enjoy that type of content or this type of content, please do me a favor right off the bat and hit that subscribe button. Anyway, I'm Chris the Batman Statue Collector, and we have this guy right here. He's not ever been on a program on our channel before, but this is Josh, JWR Collects. How's it going, sir?
I'm good. I'm excited about the show and what they're doing, traveling. So I think it's going to be a really great show. Triple H is doing a really, really good job of creative.
Yep, I think so too. This guy right here, Lawrence Old Jr., you might recognize him. He was on Rogues Gallery for quite a long time, took a break from all of this social media stuff, but we're glad to have him back. And obviously, a lot of you know him also. He has a great He-Man collection. And so welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back and be in an outlet to do something creative. And I, too, am looking forward to the show. It's going to be great.
That's awesome. Well, like I said, this is a live format. It's a hangout show, just kind of like we do whenever I do all of my regular Rogues Gallery stuff. But tonight we're talking about wrestling and specifically the Elimination Chamber. And before we did that, I kind of wanted to go around the horn and maybe kind of talk about our connection to wrestling. I thought that would maybe be just kind of introduce everybody to the audience. And so JWR, how did you get into wrestling? And, let us know about yourself.
I was 7 or 8 years old the first time I ever saw WWF, and it was the Macho Man Randy Savage. And I absolutely fell in love with that character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I loved it. It's just it was a spectacular show, and I got made fun of all growing up for watching it, but I never quit. I just through the good, the bad, and the ugly, I've been with it, and it's just my little side passion, and it's one of the best things going on TV right now.
I think it's been some of the best writing lately. A lot of great entertainers. Obviously, I agree with you very much. It's a good time to be a fan, that's for sure. Lawrence, what about your connection to wrestling?
Yeah, I started pretty early, like JWR. I remember being as early as 4 years old and watching main event Hogan versus Andre.
Yeah.
On the first
February 5th. February 5th.
Yeah, yep. 1988.
Yep.
I would have been, a super young. And I remember that though, sitting on my dad's lap and watching that with him. Of course, I think 33 million people watched that show.
Yep.
It's still the most watched wrestling event, I think, of all time on cable. And just fell in love with that pageantry. I mean, you look at Hulk Hogan, and that's obviously it's a real life off the pages He-Man, right? And so I kind of gravitated to that real quick, and Hogan was cool. And then later on, I just remember watching those early with my dad, and then I got into guys like Bret Hart, and Bret was always my guy. I liked those guys that could wrestle, and really started to fall in love with the artistry of that and what they could do, and just same as JWR, kind of stuck with it. I mean, I loved it all the way up until, oh goodness, I fell away from it there probably in my mid 20s, maybe early 30s. Life got in the way, as it always does, and then came back to it. Been to several live events, just like you guys. Super fun. It's always a fun thing to go to. It's something I used to share with my uncle and my dad. They used to take me and my brother as kids. We went to SummerSlam '96 and some of those other shows. I went to King of the Ring King of the Ring 2002 and got to see Hogan at that one, and that's when he was making his big comeback.
Yep.
So Yeah, that was really my connection. Always loved it. Got back into it when Sheamus came on board. Loved that character.
Mhm.
Kind of fell away again a couple years, and then really when the pandemic started, got back into it, and just really enjoyed that. Always enjoyed the WCW aspect of
Oh,
things
I
too.
love WCW.
Sting was my guy, so it was Bret Hart on one side and Sting on the other, and I just fell in love with the whole thing.
Absolutely. Well, my background, if you guys are watching, and I've talked about it before, but my background started with my dad. He always watched wrestling as a kid, and he still watches it occasionally. But I hated it. It's like, turn it off, Dad. Like, it's just awful. Like, just a bunch of dudes in underwear yelling at each other, blah blah blah. But then somebody had a WrestleMania 3 program that brought to school when I was in 4th grade. And it was a WWF magazine, had Hogan and Andre on the cover, and a kid named Eric Ward. I'll never forget it. He brought it. And from that moment on, I was hooked and became a major fan. All my friends were wrestling fans. And that was when it was not cool to be a wrestling fan at all, of course. So it was, the 80s and whatever. But then as we
closet wrestling fan.
That's right. That's what you had to be. But was very, very much into it. Even as I, a teenager and early adulthood, me and my friends, we did backyard wrestling. We had our own wrestling organization where we, my name was Chris Deeds, and I was one half of Dastardly Deeds, and we had all these matches, and I was the booker, so I would book all the matches. We filmed them. I did all the play-by-play commentary and stuff, and we filmed it all. And so it was a lot of fun. And that, of course, we were watching hardcore by then. Just some of the events that I've been able to go to. I've been to 4 WrestleManias. I've been to 17, which I think is the greatest WrestleMania of all time. I've been to 19, which was also really good. I was at 30 and 32. And I feel like some of the best WrestleManias I've been lucky enough to attend. I was also at the very first Hell in the Cell with Shawn Michaels and Undertaker in St. Louis. That was a big event. So I got to see that. I was unfortunately May 23rd, 1999. I was in the the Kemper Arena when Owen Hart fell. And so I saw him fall and die, which was one of the worst nights of my life. It was really awful. But I've been a fan for a long time. I've met most of the wrestlers we've talked about. I've met Brock Lesnar, I've met Roman Reigns, I've met Triple H. And so I've met probably well over 200 wrestlers over my time. Bret Hart, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, everybody.
Scott Hall.
The only one I haven't met is Hulk Hogan. That's the one I really want to meet because he was definitely my childhood. Like you said, my childhood He-Man, that's for sure. He was fantastic. So that's a little bit about my background with wrestling, and that leads us up to now. And again, we're in 2024. It's crazy that with all of the craziness in the last couple months, with what's been reported with Vince McMahon and all the other craziness, I'm really glad to see it in good hands with Paul. I think Paul Levesque is fantastic. He gets it. He's an old school kind of wrestling guy, and that's what I grew up with. So I really appreciate him loving the history of the sport. And then, like you said, you guys mentioned the artistry of it. And it's, I think it's really come full circle. Of course, I was a big fan of the WCW years. Also, I really enjoyed the Monday Night War and all of that good stuff. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been a wild ride. And again, this is the first big pay-per-view that I can remember that's of this level. Gosh, maybe since SummerSlam in the UK, way back in the day with Bret Hart and the British Bulldog. And I think that Triple H wants to take the brand global. He wants to, make it much, much bigger. And so will we see a WrestleMania overseas somewhere? I think, yes. I think we will at some point.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think
UK. I see it happening in the UK first.
Yeah, I think so too. I can see Wembley, hosting something. Or is it still Wembley? I don't even know if it's still Wembley anymore.
It is.
No,
you're absolutely right.
AEW did a big show in Wembley Stadium. And they're doing a second one coming up very soon.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He's absolutely right. Yeah, they did it last August. That was a good show. I think that particular brand, just a little off topic, is a little struggling right now from my perspective. Just watching their show, it's a tough slog, but they've had some good runs, and that was a good show.
Yeah, every company has its ups and downs. Go ahead.
Speaking of Sting, his final match is coming up at Revolution this month. He is
March 6th.
officially retired.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is crazy to think he's had such a great career. I've had the opportunity to meet him as well. He's such a great guy. Does a lot of public speaking now and stuff, but yeah, AEW, unfortunately, like you said, they've kind of been in a slump. But they've had some people defect kind of, I think that's probably going to keep happening. But at the end of the day, everybody has ebbs and flows. And so hopefully they'll continue to do well, because I think competition is always a good thing. Just makes the product better, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think I think you're absolutely right. I think competition, really creates a better product all around. And, not that it impacts us directly, but for the wrestlers to have multiple options to go and work, I think that also just means a lot. Because I don't know, I think you see healthier wrestlers. I think you see more motivated wrestlers, engaged wrestlers. And I think just ultimately by the nature of that, they put on better shows because now they do have options. And, if one thing or another's not working out at one company and they're doing a great job somewhere else, they have an opportunity, at another organization. And you can see it now, not even just across. I mean, of course, you've got the big two, but TNA's made a little bit of a resurgence.
Yep.
The Japan scene is pretty wild over in New Japan and All Japan. And so there's a lot of choices out there, I think, for wrestlers. You can see Nick Nemeth, who was Dolph Ziggler.
Mm-hmm.
He just won a New Japan championship last night or whatever. And so, these guys have options. And I think that's great because it does create a level of competition. And I just think everybody's at their best.
Well, it also, it increases their value. Like you look at somebody like Cody Rhodes, who was a mid-carder at best before he left WWE, and he went different places and he solidified himself as a megastar main eventer now.
Yeah.
And so I think like you mentioned, Dolph Ziggler, like same thing with him. I think if he, continues to build his brand, I'm trying to think of I can't think of his name. It's just off the top of my head. It's he's married to Chelsea Green.
Zack Ryder.
Yeah, thank you, Zack Ryder. He's really another great example. Like he is going from place to place to place. He's increasing his value, and I think that's
Matt
awesome.
Cardona.
Yeah, thank you, Matt Cardona.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And he, and you saw it with Drew McIntyre.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he kind of the blueprint for that. I think first, even before Cody. Did it, and some guys have been able to parlay that into some really great success.
Yep, I agree 100%. But again, that leads us.
Drew McIntyre was great in Impact. That was his best run.
Yeah, he was fantastic, and just even like, not only did he build himself up, he literally built himself up. He has increased his size tremendously.
That's a big man.
He's a big dude. Yeah. And it's just really neat. So Neil has a great a point here about, hi, everybody. Ironically, the show been to Perth, Australia means it's tougher watch time time-wise in New Zealand. Instead of a midday, it's 10 p.m. start for us. Rhea Ripley is the best performer in years. I do love Rhea Ripley.
Oh, Rhea Ripley. Her match with Charlotte Flair last year at WrestleMania, top 5 match of all time.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
No qualifiers to that. Top 5 match of all time. Men, women, I don't care.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
High praise. That's high praise. But
they were supposed to be the main event of WrestleMania, and they got bumped for the tag team, and they went out there and they wanted to prove a point, and they sure did. They sure did. They were the main event.
Yep. It was fantastic. But it does, it is interesting with them going overseas, kind of long story short here, that it is interesting because it's such a different time. Again, it's 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. to 3 a.m. depending on where you are in the United States, and that's very different. That's very, very different. So obviously, that's like we all said, we're going to watch it on replay because we're not going to probably be up at that or at that time. But it is interesting because I feel like they've had that formula for so long that it used to be Sunday night. It was always Sunday night, and they moved it to now it's more like Saturday night, which again is interesting. It'll also be interesting to see what happens when they go to Netflix, because obviously, will we still have Monday Night Raw? Like, will it still be on Mondays? Who knows?
That's a great question, because you can watch it anytime, right? I mean,
Anytime.
technically, you can watch it anytime. So that'll be interesting to see when they release it and what the schedule's like. I agree.
Yeah. So
I thought Amazon Prime was going to get Raw for that was him, Jeff Bezos. I thought he was going to buy the rights to Monday Night Raw, but and Netflix, I mean, they got some deep pockets.
You got to give WWE credit. You know, one of the things that they have done historically well is to be at the forefront of these types of changes with how to present their medium. I mean, you know, all the way back to closed circuit TV in the 80s, and then obviously cable, and then moving into, you know, the WWE network. They were really one of the first ones to kind of brand their own network. You know, MLB was doing their network, and I don't think a lot of people know this, at least my understanding at the time is MLB, and how they were making a ton of money is they did everybody's network. They created the technology and the infrastructure for everything. So these companies were paying MLB to create their networks because they knew how to do it. And so the WWE network was really kind of at the forefront too, as one of the early networks where you would subscribe to get just their specific content. And now you see them moving into another streaming platform, and you just, I don't know, they keep changing the game with that, and it changes their industry, and generally for the better. I mean, obviously $5 billion deal. You know, they're certainly never going to hurt to sign. That is a lot of money. Never going to hurt to sign somebody to a contract, that's for sure. They can be the biggest star in the world, a la The Rock, and they can sign them to a contract.
Well, speaking of The Rock, it seems like there's been, you know, a lot of craziness with introducing The Rock. I think a lot of plans, at least in my opinion, I think a lot of plans changed, especially with CM Punk, CM Punk getting hurt. I think originally we were going to get a CM Punk and a Seth Rollins match. I think that was a lock. Yep. And then obviously we were going to get somehow we were going to get a Rock versus Roman Reigns. But what I still don't think we were originally going to get that yet, because Rock made a comment on one of the live shows where he said that he really likes long-term storytelling. And I think that they're going to still stick with the long-term storytelling. And we'll get into that in a bit, because I have some theories on what will probably happen. I'm guessing you guys will probably agree with what I have in mind. But anyway, let's talk about the Elimination Chamber. Let's do that. So, JWR, you were telling us about a match that they've just added. You want to tell everybody about that they just announced?
So the Kabuki Warriors are going to take on Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell for the women's tag team titles. And I'm a Kabuki Warrior fan through and through. I think Asuka has not even reached her full potential in WWE yet. And I'm really excited about this match, because I think Indy's from there. So she's going to get the hometown pop and work in the babyface, and the Kabuki Warriors are going to work dirty heels. And I think this match is going to be something that you're going to want to see.
I think so too. I think it has a lot of high flying spots. I think it'll be really great. Really like what the Kabuki Warriors have done. I tend to love teams like that obviously have great chemistry, have a good look together. You know, there's been so many years where they've just paired people together and they don't work or they don't make any sense. But the Kabuki Warriors, I think, really do. What do you think about that match, Lawrence?
Yeah, I agree with him. I'm a big Asuka fan. You know, they're definitely going to be the heel team in this. Somebody's going to get the mist in the eyes. I think they retain their titles in this. I don't see an Indy Hartwell and thrown together tag team beating them. It's I guess it's fine being on the pre-show, but it's one of those where I think WWE continues to miss out on a tag team division, like a really, really super strong tag team division, whether it's women or men. You know, last year, the tag team titles were the main event of WrestleMania night 1. And where are they this year? You know, it's like, they can never seem to keep that momentum around that. And that's unfortunate, but I do enjoy good tag team wrestling, and I agree with JWR. This is going to be a great match.
Absolutely. So that's obviously on the pre-show. Another match that since we're speaking of a tag team, let's talk about the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. What do you guys think about the team of Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne? Do you think they're a long-term team, or do you think this is going to be short-lived?
Yes. No. I am upset that they did not go with British Strong Style as their name. They recently changed it to like Commonwealth or something to that degree, the Commonwealth.
Stupid.
I mean,
Stupid.
British Strong Style. I mean, that was the best team name for them. I think they have longevity. I think they're going to be kind of like Sheamus and Cesaro back in the day when they
the bar
them together, and the bar. That's
one of my favorite.
Done in them being.
It's one of my favorite tag teams of all time. I loved when they were together. I thought they were fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, I like watching these guys. I like watching Pete Dunne. Just the viciousness that he brings, and the way he twists guys, and I just enjoy their style of wrestling, and I agree with JWR. I think they could be a really good tag team for a while. Again, if they really want to do something with that tag division, I think that's a good place for these guys. I think as single stars, they're going to struggle a little bit more. I think they need that chemistry between each other to really work right now with where they are as characters. So for me, I think it's a good thing. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Who do you think comes out on top on this one?
Well, me personally, I think we're going to definitely see, Judgment Day take over and continue to have the championships. I think they'll have the championships going into Mania. Although, again, they haven't really done much with the briefcase thing. So I don't know, obviously Damian Priest is the Money in the Bank winner. I don't know if that'll factor in the Mania somehow. It's possible, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm saying Judgment Day is going to win, and I think they're going to head into a program with The Miz and R-Truth to reform Awesome Truth, and that's going to be the tag team main event at WrestleMania. It'll be Judgment Day and Awesome Truth, and I think R-Truth's finally going to get his WrestleMania moment.
Well, that'd be pretty awesome. I mean, he's definitely due. 52 years old, he's been around for a long time, but I feel like he's now at his peak of his popularity without question. He's earned it.
He really has. I think that I agree with JWR. I expect a similar outcome to what he said. I think you guys are both right. I think that Judgment Day retains by hook or crook, and I think they start a program with Miz and Truth and maybe some others in there and see how it goes.
Absolutely. We also have a Waller effect is going to be happening. Grayson Waller, and he's going to have Seth freaking Rollins and the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes joining him on the show. It has been said that The Rock is not going to be there because of previous engagements, which doesn't surprise me at all. The Rock's a busy dude. But what do you think is going to happen on that? Do you think we're going to see some some shenanigans going on?
Grayson Waller is going to get stomped, and he's going to get like Crossroads. But I think this segment is really going to set up a tag team match for WrestleMania with Reigns, The Rock, Seth freaking Rollins, and Cody Rhodes on night one. I think that's where they're going to go, because Triple H mentioned how the first WrestleMania, the main event, was a tag team match with Mr. T, Hulk Hogan, Paul Orndorff, and was it Piper? I believe it was Piper.
Yeah, Piper.
So I think that's where they're going to kind of take this segment now, and storyline is into a tag team match on night one.
Could be really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's right. I think you see Cody and Seth get on the same page here, and Cody accepts Rollins' invitation to not have to fight the bloodline alone, and I think this is what you get out of it. And I agree. Waller's gonna get stomped. You might even see an impromptu beating between him and Theory.
Yeah, I was going to say
Theory might come out there and get a little preview. I don't know that Rollins can do much with that knee right now. He probably needs a little more time to heal, but if he doesn't have to take a bump or anything, he might be all right.
Yeah, if he could do the stomp or something, but like I was kind of wondering that too, if it like an impromptu tag match or something where they ring the bell and like it's like a 30-second match or something crazy. But I think that would give the fans a really good pop for sure. Be pretty neat. OG Trainer Red says, I agree 100%. Awesome Truth is taking the titles and Damian cashes in on the winner of Seth's match at Mania. So that could be pretty interesting. And we'll get into that. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's go ahead and talk about let's do the men's elimination chamber.
Okay.
So who's all in it? You guys remember who's all in it? Obviously, we've got go ahead.
LA Knight's in it, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, and Bobby Lashley.
And Randy Orton.
The final entrance. Randy Orton, yes, Randy Orton.
Randy Orton. So there's those 6 guys.
Yep. So I'm assuming, as most people probably are, that Drew McIntyre is probably going to take it, right? Don't you guys think?
I do. I mean, I think there's a lot of heavy hitters in this. I mean, from a star power perspective. So I think they've done a nice job of putting enough stars in this to make you question, what is potentially going to happen there. I agree with you, Chris. I mean, we kind of talked earlier. If CM Punk was healthy, CM Punk was winning this. And he was going against Seth Rollins, no doubt.
Without question.
But, the injury certainly changed plans. And, man, Drew, this character change, he is doing the best character work.
Oh, fantastic.
He is just on another level right now with what he's been able to do and parlay this into this, like, heel turn, or at least anti-hero turn, because – a lot of what he is saying is still the truth.
It's all the truth. Everything's true.
The truth. Absolutely. It's 100% true. And I think that, the best wrestling stories are steeped in the truth. And he's just doing such a great job. Yep. So, I think it's Drew also.
How about you, JWR? What do you think?
I'm going to go ahead and just do a wild card. I'm going to say LA Knight. I think that he may end up doing a program with Logan Paul for the U.S. title, but his momentum lately, he beat AJ Styles to get in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick the wild card, LA Knight, for the win.
It'd be pretty big. That's a great pick.
Yeah, the only reason I hold up is, like, what do you do with Orton at Mania? I mean, how he comes back at Survivor Series also from a year and a half off. He looks better than he has in a long time. He put on like 30 pounds.
That's insane.
Okay.
He does, right? Yeah, I mean, these guys are getting giant, but what do you do with Orton? I mean, Orton's got to have a major spot at Mania, right?
You would think, like, I keep wondering, because when I look at a match like this, you always try to figure out, well, what are they going to do with the other guys afterward? Where does everybody fit? And there's so many pieces that really don't have a solid direction. Like, where do you put AJ Styles? Where do you put Randy Orton? Because there's not really necessarily a specific program. There could be some shenanigans that happen at Elimination Chamber that make it a 3-way match here and there for the title or whatever, which is still very possible. I mean, I think Triple H typically likes the one-on-one. I think most people typically like a one-on-one championship match. But you get more bang for your buck. It's easier on the athlete, obviously, to have another person in there for storytelling. But yeah, I mean, like Freddie says, LA Knight is winning. But like, if LA Knight doesn't win, where do you put him? Like, where are all these other big hitters? I have no idea.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I mean, last year they're main eventing the thing, and where does it leave them if KO doesn't win this? And Sami is out there in the lurch, and it's like what a lot of difference a year makes. But there's a lot. They have so many stars now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at the Usos. I think end up fighting each other.
Yeah, I think that's a given.
That's WrestleMania.
Yeah, absolutely. But there are so many stars. You got to kind of figure out what to do with some of these guys because they're all going to need a big spot on that stage.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just really, I don't know. For me, it's just hard to kind of predict what direction they're going to go. They don't have a ton of time to set. I mean, Mania, you can set up stuff pretty quickly, but it's at the same time, I like that long-term storytelling. So like, it has to make sense. I personally think we're going to see another U.S. championship match for Kevin Owens. I think we'll have a rematch versus Logan Paul. That's just my prediction for Mania. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but they obviously they're kind of keep dipping their toe in that story to me. So I don't know if they just did that just to get more fuel for the fire for the Elimination Chamber, but I don't know. I guess I think we'll have a lot more clear answers after tomorrow morning to know what they're going to do. What direction they're going to go in.
That's an interesting pivot because JWR was saying, hey, what about Logan Paul and LA Knight for the U.S. title at Mania?
Yep.
But that's an interesting pivot that you throw KO in there because there is a long-term story there that they've got going on. So I think that has some validity. And then maybe you bounce LA Knight over to the Intercontinental title with Gunther, because if he ends up beating like a Gunther, I mean, that just means so much more. I mean, if you've already got a rocket ship strapped to LA Knight's back, that just really accelerates that even more.
I personally think and I don't know if it'll happen. No, go ahead.
I think it's Gunther. I wish he was on this show. He couldn't travel because of like some visa issues, I believe it was, but he was programmed to wrestle Brock at WrestleMania. And with all the stuff going on right now, I could really see Orton versus Gunther for the IC title, and that would be Gunther's really test against a really strong veteran, former world champion, former WWE champion. That would solidify his legacy as longest reigning champion right now.
That'd be pretty awesome. I assumed that they would do something like Braun Breaker. I thought that they would maybe do that. It's kind of this young kid, next big thing, taking out, like I could see them if they really hype it up. I don't know. He's on SmackDown now. So I don't know. I don't know if they would go there that quickly. But yeah, like OG Trainer Red says, Randy versus Gunther would be insane. I do agree.
Yep.
Going back to your LA Knight prediction, like I'm trying to think like if somebody beat what Rollins is losing regardless. So there is no question that he's going to lose the championship. He's got a bad knee. He probably needs surgery. That's not
how I think Damian could cash in, right? I mean, so maybe Rollins retains, and then you get the cash in after he retains.
Oh, you could do that. You could do that. I was just trying to think like if somebody does beat him for the title, who would be a less big deal to be beaten by? Because like they're not going to like I don't know. Like, could they give it to LA Knight and he has it for a second and then loses to Damian Priest? Like, I don't know if they would do that because I feel like that really kills somebody's buzz.
That would set up a feud. That would like going into Backlash or WrestleMania Backlash as they call it now. That would be a good way to set up the world title feud. LA Knight wins over Rollins, celebrates. Damian cashes in. That sets up the storyline between them. So I could see them doing that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So, I mean, I think there's going to be some swerves there, but it would be interesting to see if they go that route because I think there could be a lot of great storytelling there. And I really like you guys' idea of maybe Randy Orton versus Gunther. I think that again that could be very good.
That'd be
cool.
That'd be a wrestling match that would probably be 5 stars. That would just be counters and the chops. Randy Orton getting chopped the whole match. That would just be great to see.
Yeah, I just think it'd be insane. It would be really awesome. But so I guess we'll find out who is the winner tomorrow. But great picks, guys. Let's go into what the match I'm most excited about: Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. I love everything that Rhea Ripley does. We've all sung her praises tonight already. But I'm assuming that she's going to retain pretty easily. But what do you guys think?
Agree 100%. Yeah, I agree. I mean, going against Nia, who's the strongest woman maybe on the roster, it just makes Rhea that much more of a dominant force. So, when it is time to take the belt off of her, I think it means more that she's got that kind of a win too. But I don't necessarily see them taking the belt off of her really anytime soon. I think we could be in for a long haul women's title reign like we're seeing with Gunther and the Tribal Chief. I think it could be a very long-term title reign for Rhea.
I mean, the fans are behind her. Everybody, loves her. She's a perfect, lovable heel, which is great. don't know. What do you think, JWR?
Oh, Rhea, hometown. I mean, the crowd's gonna go nuts for her when she hits the riptide on Nia. That's gonna get the biggest pop of the whole night, probably. So I see Rhea retaining going into Mania, and I think she's gonna have a big time opponent at WrestleMania.
The only thing that scares me is if you've been a fan for a long time, and you guys obviously have, almost always the person loses in their hometown.
That was a Vince thing.
I think that was an old Vince thing. Yeah.
Yep. That was a Vince thing.
So it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that she retains, because I like I said, like you guys said, that she's a great champion. I hope she has it for a long time, because she really elevates the championship way more than a lot of people have in the past.
Yep.
Which is great. Like, Io Sky's great, but I mean, she's no Rhea Ripley. I mean, it's like it's night and day different for me, the two championships.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Rhea's just killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything she touches is just fantastic. So.
Yep. So then that leaves us with the final match. It's the women's elimination chamber match. So again, who do we all have in that match? We all, whoops, hit my mic here.
Yeah, Becky Lynch.
I'm going with Becky. Yep.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch.
I mean, that's my. I mean, Liv Morgan's in there. Raquel Rodriguez coming back.
Yep.
She's in there. Goodness, I'm trying to think of the other competitors, but it really is
Bianca Belair.
Yep,
yeah, Bianca's in there. And I think if Charlotte wasn't hurt, Charlotte's got a spot, right? But
100%.
We're in the same spot.
Charlotte's going to win the match regardless. She'll find a way to come out and just end up winning that match, because she always does. So
yeah.
But I think I agree with JWR. It's Becky.
Yep. I think so too. I think obviously they teased it, and the fans are excited to see it. It's never been seen before. Again, I think it's real possible she could lose at Mania, like you guys said, keep the title on Rhea for a long time. But I think it's just a great matchup. But again, what do you do with the people that didn't win? Where do you see them? Where do you see a Raquel Rodriguez or there's not as many opportunities for the females because they just have the women's champion. There's no intercontinental. Should they create a mid tier for the women? Like I'm kind of surprised they haven't.
AEW did that with the TBS championship, and it's done a lot for the mid carders. I think WWE really does need a mid card women's title.
Yeah, it's just shocking to me after all these years, and especially with the push for the women, which has been fantastic. I just can't believe there's not that championship. I mean, obviously there are two women's championships, so maybe they feel like that's enough, but there's enough people on the roster now that, give it to Liv Morgan, give it to somebody like that, that people love, and give them an opportunity to battle.
Tiffany Stratton, Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Tiffany Stratton.
Chelsea Green, and Chelsea's kind of that comedy act, but I think that they could really probably end up doing something with her, right?
Yeah, I think she'd be a great heel champion. I mean, I think it would be a lot of fun. I mean, there could be a lot of shenanigans to try to get the belt off of her, and she tries to escape and run away and whatever. I think she could be a lot of fun. I love her. I got to meet her in New Orleans at WrestleMania 30 and had a chance to talk to her for a while, and just the road she's been on over these years, she's really made a great name for herself.
Well, now when they've got Jade Cargill, right? I mean, so they brought in Jade from AEW, and she was that TBS champion for them, as JWR pointed out. And I think, I do think you're right. I mean, there should be probably a women's intercontinental champion.
Yeah. And that obviously Jade will be against Bianca Belair. I think that'll be a given match, probably night one or maybe night two. I don't know. It just kind of depends. But I think that'll definitely be just a great singles match. See who's the strongest, pun intended, EST. I think it just sets up for so many great Mania matches. But again, there's just so many questions up in the air of what's going to happen. But speaking of that, I want to talk because the bad thing for me is that I'm actually going to be out of state for Mania this year, and so I'm not going to be able to watch it live. I'm going to have to try to avoid social media so I don't see it. I'll probably have to like watch it at like midnight from my hotel room. We're actually going to Florida during that time, so I was like, oh, it's just bad timing, but. So this is what I think is going to happen. I'll see if you guys agree with me or not. So let's talk a little bit about The Rock. So obviously, again, with CM Punk being hurt, I think that there was original plans that had to get scrapped. But I do go back to what Rock said about his long-term storytelling. And I think a lot of people have kind of picked up on this. I'm sure you guys probably did too, and had the same theory. About The Rock being a double agent, so to speak. Whenever the original plan was, The Rock or Cody passes the torch onto The Rock and said, "Hey, you fight Roman Reigns," blah blah blah. I don't know if they were expecting that kind of backlash, but whenever you start booing The Rock, you have a big problem. And so what I think that they did is pivot, and so I think that they were smart to have The Rock join Roman Reigns as being part of the bloodline, and then of course that gives Cody his shot. Me personally, I think that at Mania, The Rock will turn on Roman Reigns, and Cody will win the title, and that will then set up a year-long program, The Rock versus Roman Reigns, for next year's WrestleMania. Do you guys see that happening? What do you guys think?
I've always said Rock versus Reigns, it doesn't need the title. It's there. They have Rock's a huge megastar. Roman Reigns, longest reigning WWE Universal Champion. I don't think they need the title to say who's the head of the table. So when Cody came out and said he was passing it off, I was like, what are we doing here? This whole year has been Cody finish the story, going through Brock, going through Shinsuke Nakamura. It was supposed to be him finishing the story. And when he hugged Rock, you could just see it on Cody's face. He was like, this is not what I wanted. And I was bummed when he gave up.
Yeah. Same. I was actually, I was one of those who was sort of like, I'm not one of those guys that goes and comments on like WWE social media or anything, but I'm like looking up that video and I'm like disliking it, and I'm like, this is a terrible decision. What are you guys doing? And I normally don't react that way. So I mean, they got a very visceral reaction out of people going in a direction that obviously nobody asked for and nobody wanted. I agree with JWR. That match with Rock and Roman needs to happen, but not at Mania, not for the title. Yeah. That wasn't the spot for it. And I agree with you, Chris. I think we see a turn, a double turn, if you will. I think, there's a lot of shenanigans back and forth with bloodline people coming in and hitting Cody, and Seth's going to be out there, and there's going to be all kinds of riffraff going on, and I think that during that somehow The Rock ends up turning on Roman, and Cody hits his move, and I can't think of it right now, but
Cody Cutter,
Crossroads.
No, not
or Crossroads. Yeah.
Thank you. And Crossroads. Then yeah, 1, 2, 3. So Cody finishes his story, but yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with you there.
The only thing else I would maybe like to see if they don't go that route, like let's say everybody's just beating up on Cody, blah, blah, blah. The Rock is, beating up on him, interfering, and then all of a sudden you hear the glass break, and out comes Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, yeah, that could
you imagine the pop? Point. Could you imagine the pop? What would happen if he comes out and it's Rock and Stone Cold one more time, just laying those haymakers in? It would be insane. I think that would be. I mean, if they didn't do the turn, which I still think they're going to do the turn, but I'm like, that would be a really cool way to send off and give Cody that big win. I mean, just with the all of the craze that is going on at once. I just can't even imagine how fun
I'd pop for sure. If I do that glass break, I'm like, I remember when Cody won the Royal Rumble, I was sitting on the edge of my seat, and when he was the last one standing, I was like, I popped. I mean, I got into it. Yep. I'm invested in Cody's story. Like, I believe WWE made a mistake last year not letting Cody just come ahead and dethrone Roman Reigns. We could have Rock versus Reigns this year. Cody versus somebody else that they've built up this whole year.
Yep.
So I think we're going to see them correct the ship a little bit, like they've been doing, and let Cody finally be the WWE champion, Universal champion. I wonder if he'll change the name back to WWE champion.
Yeah, you've been hearing LA Knight say that. Like when he was going for it, they kept saying WWE Championship. Yep. I think it is. I've heard even some of the announcers most recently refer to it as WWE Championship. I think one of them did the other night when I was watching. And so, and that's what it should be. I mean, it's that title, it's that lineage. So that just makes the most sense. I agree with that.
Speaking of that, do you think that Cody will have the opportunity to bring back the winged eagle belt? I mean, come on, it's got to happen, right?
I do. I think he will, and I think maybe with a little flair on it, like a little, like I don't know, something different about it. But I think it's going to be that base design with something specific for Cody on there. Whether the Eagles holding a WW or something like that, because they're going to put their logo on there really big.
Yeah, they'll have the logo, and they're going to have their
logo, right?
Yeah,
So if they've got the wing eagle holding, instead of holding like the globe, how it was like holding the globe before, or the world. If they're if it's holding like a WW, like I could see them doing that, because they're going to want their logo front and center.
Sure.
But I could certainly see them doing a new design with that winged eagle that way. I agree.
What did y'all think of the world title when they did the WWE logo in the middle of it and everything? What did y'all think of that when they rebuilt that?
Is it like the original one when the Rock presented it years ago? You mean that one? You mean?
No, he's talking about the one
Seth Rollins, World Heavyweight Champion. The one Seth. They just reintroduced.
Yeah, it's decent.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think it's got a lot of call outs to a lot of the former titles. I mean, it was certainly kind of mirrors what the big gold was. And just by its design and its shape, and it's got a bunch of the lifted sort of design in it that you can kind of see. It has an eagle at the top of it, and it's got some other really good detail in there. So I'm a fan of that title. I think it looks really good. I'm a big fan of the big gold. I've got one sitting over here. And I thought they did a nice job. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I thought I like that title. I've been put it in the cart. Do I? Don't I? Put it in the cart. Do I? Don't I? Kind of situation with that one. But yeah,
I used to have one myself.
Yeah,
I did. Yep.
So,
I would love to see them bring that. I like all the old belts, so it's like anytime I get a new one, like I like the Intercontinental. It took me a while for me to like that one. It's like,
that one took a while.
But it's like, what was wrong with the old Intercontinental belt? Like, there's nothing wrong with those belts, and it shows the history. I don't know why they have to keep changing them, but keeps the product fresh, I guess, and modern. But I'm more of a traditionalist, so I like the old school stuff. But anyway, there's a lot of really cool things to think about. Obviously, hopefully some of our predictions are correct. But it's been a lot of fun talking with you guys tonight about them. Hopefully we can continue to do this again. And, maybe for the next event, or maybe before I go on my vacation, we can talk about Mania once we know some more matches are in place. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good. Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. Well, I want to thank JWR. I want to thank Lawrence for hanging out with us tonight. And thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, I know this is something a little different for the Batman channel, but again, hopefully you'll join us over on the Wrestling Rogues channel as we get that started. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, gentlemen. And everybody have a great night.
Y'all.
Have fun watching Elimination Chamber. Bye, everybody.